Hello, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
All right, sorry. We're just going live. Just, a friend Ben has come over, and I'm putting him to work instead of hanging out. I'm just like, come talk on the radio station.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in quite a few years, and
I should introduce you. I'm James, and this is Ben.
Hello. Yeah. All right.
And we're in Perth, Australia, broadcasting from probably a long way away from where you're listening, because not many people from Perth actually listen to this station. What's up?
Know. What's up? I don't know. Just finished work.
Yeah, you're saying we haven't seen each other for ages.
Yeah. Last time I saw you, we worked on a short pack film, which did really well. I had a great time doing it. And since then, I moved over to Sydney. I've been living there for the past 4 years. And just recently moved back. Thought I'd touch base with people. See.
Moved?
Yeah. Got all our stuff, and we drove over. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Which way did you come?
Nullarbor.
Did you drive over there?
Yes.
Yeah. So you've done it before?
No. Oh, sorry. I misheard what you said. Did we drive over there? No, we did not. We went by plane.
All right. Yeah.
So first time driving back.
So what was that? Have you ever done it before?
No. We spaced it out over 2 weeks.
All right. Yeah.
And just took our time, because I know you could do it in like 3 days, but yeah, I don't know who would want to do that in 3 days. It's like nonstop driving. So Jen and I drove the whole way, and there was no way I was going to drive more than 6 hours. So we tried to plan it so that we went to places that sounded interesting, and
Did you come back just through the centre, or did you go via Melbourne or something?
No, through the centre. We figured that going via Melbourne would just add too many kilometres to the trip, and we probably would stay in Melbourne for too long, So, no, it was good. It was good. The funny thing is, there isn't so much to see during the trip. You kind of expect it to be really exciting, but it's not that exciting.
Where did you go through? Like, you went from Sydney. Where did you head?
Yeah, we went to the Great Australian Bight.
Well, that's on the Nullarbor.
Is it? Yeah. Oh, goodness. I don't know. Via close to Adelaide.
There's pretty much not. Did you go through Adelaide?
Part of, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Close to it.
I've never been to Adelaide because I've always skipped it and gone from like Port Augusta right up towards.
Apparently, a lot of cool stuff happens in Adelaide.
Yeah.
I really wanted to go
friends
there.
from Adelaide, and they seem to be having fun.
You can criticize Adelaide without actually having friends in Adelaide.
I don't want to criticize. People criticize Perth, and I hate people who criticize Perth. So I don't want to
Damn, that was one of the topics I was going to bring up. So what's with Perth? Okay.
I just legitimate complaints. I hate people who blame their problems on
a city, on a location.
Yeah, on a city.
Yeah,
and chances are they'll have it in another city.
Yeah, of course.
The only difference is that it's a change.
Yeah,
It's not going to a better city. You're just making a change. Although I'm sure there are way better cities. Overall, but I'm just like, man, you have it easy in Perth. Like, something's more expensive, but that's about it. Like,
yeah, dude, I know what you mean. You're basically saying that
first world problems.
Sorry,
people would die to come here and live here.
Of course they would. Yeah,
and what you're complaining about, I'm just like,
dude, I like that. I agree with that.
But then I'm like, it's traffic the other day, just a bit of rain, and I was like late for work, and I'm like, that's true.
It could be better. It could be better. That's my complaint with the place. My complaint.
So what's been
since
bugging
you brought it up, public transport could be much better. You shouldn't have to. This goes for every city, to be honest, not just Perth. But nobody should have to jump in a car and drive to work. There should be, a railway system that'll take you there in 5 minutes. And the technology's there. We could put the infrastructure down, but we're not.
So when did you leave here? You lived in Melville before? Were you in the same place?
Yeah. Lived in Melville, lived in Bentley, also lived in Maylands.
Did they have the train line down through the freeway then? But when you were last
to where?
year?
To Melville?
To Mandurah.
Mandurah?
They put a train that goes from Perth to Mandurah down the freeway.
Okay. Is that a good thing?
I just wonder if it made moving around the southern suburbs Because I don't live in the suburbs, so I don't know what it's like.
I haven't actually, despite my little tangent, I've got a car, so I haven't taken a train. But I would love to have not had to purchase a car.
Yeah.
And a lot of the jobs that I do, there's no way of getting there with a train.
Yeah.
It's cool if you live, work in the city and you can just jump on a train from Fremantle and go straight in. That's fine. But if you live in a suburb that's, half an hour out of those key points, then you're, in a bit of strife. So, yeah. Anyway, what else? What else could be better? Just that, and also just more forward thinking, I think, but that goes for all of Australia. I mean, I got a real, something that really bugs me.
Well, you're just from Sydney. When people who I know come back from Sydney, they're like, oh my God, like the traffic. I don't know. They have traffic problems there.
Yeah, they got traffic. They got traffic. Well, what are you getting at? What do they normally say? People that go to Sydney and come back.
They just talk about it's just really congested and stuff like that. But I don't know I don't know the context of where they live. Because every time I go there, I just go to Darling Harbour and then go home. So there's like a tram right there. It's like going to the city in Perth.
Yeah, sure.
Well, not that we have a train from the airport though.
They have a lot more freeways and bridges and tunnels. It's a lot more complicated than over here. It's a bigger city, so with more high population.
So where were you living? Like how far away from this?
I lived in, let's see, first couple of years lived in Surrey Hills, which is really close to the city, so that was great. My girlfriend had a job in the city, so it was fine for her. I unfortunately had a job out in the middle of nowhere, so I ended up having to drive for like an hour to get to that job. And then the following 2 years, we lived in Maroubra, which is about half an hour from the city. It's close to the beach. Pretty quiet little area, and I had a job pretty similar, half an hour away, that sort of thing. So, yeah. But
are you from Perth?
Yes, I grew up in Perth.
Yeah. And Jenny?
Jenny, yes, she also grew up in Perth.
Yeah.
I went to.
So your family's all here. That's why you moved.
Not
back,
all of my family.
Yeah.
No, just my immediate family. They're here. Yeah. Moving over there was for a change and out of interest, and moving back was probably a similar thing. So you're right. Like, I mean, all cities are fairly similar, aren't they? And I think that's happening around the entire world. Everywhere you go, everywhere that's turning into a big city is just going to have the same problems that all big cities seem to have, and the same character as well.
Yeah.
I mean, with that, you tend to lose any cultural diversity. You probably end up going to Paris and buy the same stuff you can buy here. And their shops probably look very similar to our shops. And they have a lot of traffic. So, what I was getting at with my pet peeve when it comes to Australia, since you got me on a tangent, just the energy thing. I really think that it's a little annoying that we can use not necessarily solar panels. Have you heard of these things called thermal towers?
Like where the heat rises up a central tube and then they've got a generator at the top.
Yeah. They use mirrors, and I think they run salt through these pipes, and they superheat salt, and then they use that in order to generate electricity. Really cool, really cool, really effective. We could set something up like that, along with a few other things here in Australia, in various locations, and within like 10 years, just convert all of our electricity to renewable sources, which makes sense to me, and it kind of irritates me because everyone's going on about, carbon taxes and all of this stuff, and how, it's just complaining about a lot of things, but they're not necessarily discussing solutions, tangible solutions and tangible time frame. And hey, where can we find the funds, and let's put it towards an actual project. And there are projects out there. It just seems that nobody's touching on them. You know what I mean?
It's crazy. Like, I mean, there's the tax. Okay, so they brought in this thing in Australia called the carbon tax, right? Where high polluters get charged extra tax, and in theory, that money will go towards something fixing the problem.
That's it. Yep.
And that's run by the Labor government, which is the left side of the spectrum in Australia, and the federal government. But like we live in a state in Perth, state of West Australia, has a right wing government, right side of the thing, and of course they hate each other, and so they obviously to try and boost support for to boost support for their counterparts in federal parliament, the state right-wing party has just trying to sabotage any benefits from the carbon tax whatsoever. So, for example, this house is run on green power. We pay a huge premium to make sure that this power comes from green sources, right?
Right.
And guess what we have to pay?
What?
The carbon tax.
Uh?
I mean, the whole point of the carbon tax is to make the people who pay, I'll use the coal power because it's cheaper.
Yeah. And
Right.
you're using renewable sources, and you're
Yeah.
paying the tax.
Yeah, I'm paying the
Doesn't
tax as
make
well
sense.
for the people who can't be bothered doing the right thing and paying
Right.
for green power. And that's their choice because the power is supplied by the state government, so they're completely trying to sabotage it, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that's so irritating. Business gets in the way of progress, doesn't it? Because they have an establishment and they want to maintain that current establishment,
Yeah.
and so anything that comes along that may threaten it, they're going to fight as much as possible. And that's where I get frustrated with people because people should clue onto it and get motivated and do something about it. You know what I mean? Talk about it for one. But anyway,
They also, the right-wing party, have allowed uranium mining because, like, WA has, you know, a quarter of the world's uranium in the state.
Yeah, because we really need more uranium, right?
Yeah.
Because
And that's
what are
just
they
it.
intending
Everyone's
using it
like,
for?
their idea is like, we'll be on a high horse and we won't use nuclear power because that's dangerous. But we'll power the entire state on coal, right? And then we'll just export the uranium to like India or somewhere who will then burn it. So like, how is it any different? We're basically producing
This is
nuclear
the
power
total-
and coal power.
Yeah.
Where they're like the worst people in the world.
Yeah.
You know, at least
Right.
like in France, they're like entirely nuclear powered. They don't produce like any carbon. You know, they have lots of good electric powered trains as well, and they recycle like pretty much all their radioactive waste, so it doesn't
Right.
just get dumped somewhere.
It'd be interesting to know what they recycle it as, because I think a lot of that sort of stuff goes into weaponry, doesn't it?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, they make. I don't know what the stats are. They have this future dump. Well, most of it gets turned into like X-ray machines and airport scanners and stuff like that. And probably weapons.
Yeah.
But they've made this dump, right, where you put the stuff. Because there's people developing on how to reuse radioactive waste, and this is what Bill Gates is working on now. He's left Microsoft, and
Is he?
you just burn the radioactive waste, get rid of it, and then power other stuff at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
So who
Cool.
knows what's happening?
Well, it's a crazy world.
But yeah, I mean, Perth has more sunny days, I think, than any other city in the world.
you heard-
Cloudless days.
Have you heard about the idea of
Also, the second windiest city in the world, so we could be wind powered as well.
wind and sun? Excellent. Have you heard about the solar roads? Solar panel roads?
No.
Oh.
They put them in the road and you drive over it.
Yeah. It's a road that's made out of glass. Everything's prefabricated, and the solar panels are built into the actual glass layer. I think it's just under a very thick layer, and the glass is specially designed so it doesn't provide any glare even when it rains. So pretty cool. And it absorbs sunlight, produces electricity, and the beautiful thing about it is it's all it's all localized. It's local. It turns into the grid. Because, I mean, right now what we do is we generate the electricity off in some central location, and then we transmit it to everyone via these cables. And we lose a hell of a lot of electricity as a result of that transmission, converting it to whatever, and then reconverting it back. You lose a lot of heat and therefore energy. With this, everything gets generated, on site, and the road becomes your grid. And the cool thing about it is, because it's prefabricated, those really annoying times, in traffic, I mean, assuming we still have cars, which we probably will, where a road has to be shut down and it takes hours and hours and hours to fix it, you'd literally be able to bring the next section, pull out that section, drop it in, and who knows how long it would actually take, So I saw this, the developing it in America. It just blew me away. Like, oh, wow, that is so cool.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cool stuff out there. It's just doesn't seem not much momentum behind it, or it seems to be a bit of a struggle for that sort of stuff to kind of find its way into our current lives, I suppose. Yeah. Anyway, so what's been happening with you, man? I mean, I haven't seen you in over 4 years. How you been? What's
Pretty much doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I was doing this radio thing when you came.
No, this is new.
I think I started this in about 2009, and pretty much the same thing. I don't know what I was working. Where was I working? I was working at a liquor store. That's right, because we filmed inside.
Yes.
I'm just doing courier work part-time, then trying to write films the other half of the time.
Yeah.
And then doing this the other third of the time. That's my life, pretty much.
Wicked, man. Wicked. Actually, I really wanted to talk to you about the films because I wanted to discuss collaborating on something again. I really thought the Big Woo had something to it. I like the characters of it. I like that, just that the simplicity, of a guy chasing a girl, that sort of thing. And I wonder if it could be extended into some sort of 8-minute, what do they call them?
Web series?
Yeah, something like that. What's your thoughts?
That sounds interesting.
Yeah?
Cool. If people are wondering what we're talking about, I think probably best, I don't know. If you go to my website, jimmerish.com, if you're already at jimmerishfilm.com, then go to jimmerish.com, then go short films, then search for Big Woo, BIGWOO, and you'll be able to watch it. The original, which we made in half a day.
It's ridiculous,
and
right?
we didn't have a sound guy, so I think I was like holding the mic.
Yeah, you did everything.
Holding the mic, so the sound's terrible. But,
it's just in one cut shot you notice it. Everything else actually was pretty excellent. It was like
I'm just like, if we had just more than half a day to do it, it would have been better. Or if I had just a sound guy so I can concentrate on keeping the camera in focus, or even having a cameraman to do that. I don't know.
Yeah. What's your setup these days?
I've stopped making films. I wrote a web series last year.
Yeah.
And tried to get funding, but that did not get funding. And so that was my last time I made anything. So I've just been stuck to writing because I sort of enjoyed writing the series that I'm expanding into something bigger, like a mini series or something that I can, I don't know, try and give it to my friends at the ABC and I'd be like, hey man, make this mini series. So, and I'm working on writing other short films because last year I set a 3-year plan to write this TV series and 3 feature films, and then next year I'm getting kicked out of this house which my parents own, and then I'm going to go off somewhere and sell it.
Okay.
Sell the scripts,
awesome.
I don't know how, but I'm going to. But yeah, so I'm just trying to find, and I'll probably get back into making stuff because I just want to have something in my back pocket, so that people go, oh, if you get some kind of video that's popular, then people go, oh, what are you going to do next? I'm like, boom, here's the script, already written it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And not just, and I say that because I write scripts all the time. I'm something that they will actually go, oh, this is marketable. Or,
Yep. Awesome, man.
Which is
awesome.
the big difference between writing what like you're passionate about and what other people will enjoy.
Yeah. Oh, what sort of things do you inspire you?
Well, like we were talking about Perth, I'm writing like a sort of the mini series is about Perth and being a boom town, and some of this that's the backdrop. It's like a traditional romance. Well, it's not traditional at all, but a romance that goes through it, and the backdrop is boomtown Perth and some of the issues faced. Like, a lot of the problems that Perth have now is our population is going faster than we can build new stuff, and of course the right-wing government won't, they won't buy any. They don't like investing in public government infrastructure. So they won't buy any more trains.
Yeah.
So now all the trains are just packed out. Now it's come too late. Like they knew they had to order them 5 years ago because they take 3 years to build. And so if they did it when they came in, they could have done it right then, and we wouldn't have this. Well, it still would have been pretty busy because they would never buy too much. They would only buy just less than what was needed. But now it's getting really bad where people can't even get on the train because they don't have enough carriages. And that's it. And they've ordered the trains now, but they're won't be here till 3 years. And in that time, the city's going to be
increase even more. So by the time they come in,
it's going to be 200,000 people bigger. Yeah, and they're always going to be behind the ball.
Yeah,
and it probably won't change until the left-hand government goes, oh, let's invest in government infrastructure. That's how it's
do you think government's even effective? I mean, or left, right? It's going to a different topic, but do you think it's
the whole two-party system, most people go, I'm going to vote for... In Australia, it's Labor or Liberal. They're the two major parties, or in America, it's Republican or Democrats.
Yeah.
There's an either-or thing, and nothing gets done unless there's more than two. Like, what's happening, interesting in the federal system, right, is we had a draw in the election, which gives the power to all the independents, because they basically, whatever motion wins is whatever the independents choose. So those independents that they represent, they're... every decision that the federal government makes benefits their electorate because the people in that electorate voted someone who bent it, and their only interest is to make sure Australia is best for them,
Right.
So they are getting a huge amount of value because they voted independent, And here, I'm in a safe right-wing seat. It has been all my life. It's, because it's a pretty affluent area. This is Western Perth. And... all these people just keep voting Liberal, and it's like you'll never get any benefits. Like you'll never see stuff because if you don't vote for someone who's going to represent you rather than just some person just puts their hand up to follow everyone else, like the right wing federal government, like they recently had a vote for gay marriage, and they weren't even allowed to have a conscience vote on it. They all had to say no to the right for gay marriage. Like they were forced down the party line. They didn't go to choice. Whether the left wing gave their people the choice that you can vote either way. Like it.
Well, I think that I really believe the only way to have a democracy is to promote self-governance. To be honest, and the word anarchy, that's actually what it stands for. A governing of the self. It's been very much slandered and demonized over the years, and people, when they think anarchy, they think in terms of violence and protests and just all these terrible things, chaos basically. But that isn't at all what it means. It simply means government by the people and the right to govern yourself. So I think I personally love to go back to a smaller system, because I think when systems become too large, they, as you say, stop representing the people. I think that everything should become localized as along with a form of government, and almost like a self-governing village. And all these villages might then get together and discuss, what benefits all the villages, but each village is independent and the people represent themselves. You know what I'm trying to get at? So, yeah, I think that in terms of large government systems as we have around the world today, all that ends up happening is basically business gets represented and the people, they're not even on the agenda. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my little spill.
It's I don't know whether. I just think people just need to. You know what? We were talking about this the other day on the show that we should just teach people how to vote at a basic level. You should teach people how to vote correctly. Most of my friends don't even understand how preferential voting works.
Dude, you don't need. But once you've voted for a party, you don't get to vote ever again. You don't get to vote for, whether that party decides they want to enter into a war or where they want to distribute the money, if they want to back mining industry instead of backing, public services. So that's what I just think it's completely ineffective.
Well, there's people who run on that basis saying, hey, if you vote for me, I'll have a website, you can put your feedback in and I'll make your decisions based on what you guys say, and they're independents, so they're just like, I just want to represent my electorate, which is what ideally everyone should do. But no one will vote for them because they're scared that if they don't put the incumbent parties like number one, that their vote doesn't count. And it's like, no matter what happens, your vote to come in. If you in your heart want to pick this one guy who wants to say, hey, I'll give you access to every decision I make, be completely open, and they won't do it because they think that if they don't vote for an incumbent, their vote won't count. But no, if he doesn't win, then your second choice, your vote goes to your second choice fast voting. Your vote always counts as long as you don't do a donkey vote or even a donkey vote, I think counts, but you don't just, fill out the form incorrectly. Your vote is going to count no matter what. Right. So people just have to be smart rather than going, I don't know who to vote for. I should just vote for the guy I've seen on TV the most times. Like, and then it's just the people you see on the TV the most time, they're the people with the most money.
Yeah.
Who pays that money? It's businesses. It's individuals' large amount of money funding them because, we don't have a system where the maximum donation is $20,
Yeah.
So if we brought that law in where the maximum donation is $20, it's hard to reinforce, but at least say, if they have to document like all the people, then it's the person with the most support from individuals that has the most power, not the support from the richest businesses.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous in America. If you look at any two candidates going for being president, you'll find that the top five companies, the corporations that fund them will be the same for both.
Yeah.
And they're usually large banks like, JP Morgan, Merrill Lynch, all sorts of different. And so, who are they representing and what are you really voting for if both of them are going to more or less say the same thing, do the same thing, represent the same business interests, first and foremost, with just slightly different rhetoric. And that's really, I think, what people are voting for. A different rhetoric, slightly different approach, slightly different take on minor issues. Not big issues, minor stuff like, should we let gay people have the right to marriage? It's a minor issue, but it's made into a big issue. Or how many refugees should we let into the country? Which is something that's a favorite here in Australia. They tend to focus on that so much.
Well, it's just because they know that there's this huge racist heart to Australia and they want to appeal to them.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's so true.
Rednecks basically make up, 18 of our 20 million population. it's probably especially true in Perth. We are like the most isolated major city in the world, so
Yeah, it's horrible, the type of personalities that I suppose grow within such isolation. You know, I mean, people need to get out there and visit other countries, other places, and stop repeating the nonsense they hear over and over, because that's not real. It's not experiencing for yourself. You know, I mean, if you're going to form an opinion of something, form it for yourself based on your own experience or your own research. And a lot of the time, neither of those things happen here. You just have people, as I said, jumping on a bandwagon and just trying to fit in, you know? Which sucks.
So it's... yeah.
Like, when I was in primary school, I experienced that. I was told to go back to my own country.
Oh,
and I'm
really?
white. I'm from Europe. My family's from Romania. And I think I was in year 4 or something. I got into some argument at a playground, and some kid yelled that at me. I don't even know what it meant. I'm like, what do you mean by go back to my own country? I grew up here. I'm supposed to be from here, right? You know, so, and where did that kid get it from? His parents, you know? And it's one of those things that I suppose people just, they repeat a lot. It tends to be a solution, you know, focus on blame, a scapegoat.
Yeah.
And it tends to change every maybe 10 years, right? So I think when my dad immigrated here, I think it was the Italians that were copying a lot of that. And then it changed, and then it was the Asian community, and then I'm pretty sure the Aboriginal community always copy it. I'm not sure what... right now it's the Muslim community. They tend to copy it, at least in Sydney. And... I don't know. It's an interesting topic, because on one hand, you've got this thing where communities come over here, and people come over here, and they do isolate themselves as well, which doesn't help. But also there is this racist kind of undercurrent in Australian culture that I think has been here for a long time.
I think the best solution is just to... I think you have to try and... I don't know whether you can, but try and control people grouping up together.
Yeah.
In different areas. You know
Us and them mentality has to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, I had the advantage of... I think I live in this particular area is a very... there's a lot of sort of people from Vietnamese or Italian backgrounds, just around this particular suburb. So I you know, half my class was from either was their parents are from Vietnam, or they were from Vietnam themselves, or from Italy, or vice versa.
Yep.
So I never really had that issue, and I'm like, if every school was like that, it had a diverse range. It was even weirder because I went to two high schools where they had like intensive language centers where they get people in who just need to learn English, and I think a lot of them are refugees, but they're segregated, and then up from till year 10, and then they're not reintegrated till year 11 and 12. And I realized maybe the reason is because if they can't understand English yet, then there's no point putting them in the same classes as fluent English speakers, because it's going to be a two-speed education process. But
right.
They somehow need to get those, and they may have done it since I've left, because I forget that I've been out of high school for 10 years now, so they may have done all these things that I'm talking about, but they need to integrate the ILC programs in other things, you know, maybe like phys ed or something. So just because they don't speak English well, get them so they're part of the same thing, because there was a bit of the only racist thing that I ever came across was that where the two classes clashed in year 11, and thankfully the thing is, the kind of people who are the problem in Australia leave school at the end of year 10, so they never got that 2 years of being part of a multicultural school, you know. So,
It's
I could be generalizing there, but
I don't think you are. I think
I just find that my friends who we all went to the same school, we both have the thing. We don't have. It's completely. It's weird for me when I meet other people that have an opinion on someone's race, you know.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I'd have to agree with exposure. You got to be exposed to different people, and when that occurs, you realize just how much you have in common with them, and that you're not, as a result of that, you gain compassion, and you see yourself in them, and then the ability to hate becomes lesser and lesser. I think that's something that really ties into propaganda. During war, there's a tendency to demonize and dehumanize the opposition, and that's essential. That's absolutely essential. As long as you don't see any similarities between yourself and the other side, you can very easily hate them and see yourself, enjoying violence towards them because they deserve it. It always lends to that mentality. It's always a judgment that they're wrong, you're right, you're in the right to punish them, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think just exposure to different people is the best way to bridge those gaps. So,
yeah, I think it was a real shock to me. Like, I think the first time I ever went overseas, alone, completely alone, was I went and stayed in Paris for about a month. Just Paris, didn't really go outside of there, and that is a completely multicultural society. It's, you think, go to France, they're white people. No, it's 30% white, 30% Northern African, 30% Eastern European. It's just this huge mix of, I'm just, every person you meet is different, and they're all French,
Cool.
They're all Parisians, I guess you say. And that is a bit of a shock, because I always heard people say, "Oh, Australia's so white," but it is quite true. But then if you go out to some suburbs, like I've been out to in East Perth, and not the suburb East Perth, but the eastern suburbs of Perth. I went to like a party out there and just got on the bus and thought I walked into a different country because I was the only white person on the bus.
Really?
Get off. There's like all these mosques and stuff, and
well, that's what I was alluding to before, where and you touched on it as well, the whole thing about communities propping up within different countries. That is an interesting one to look at, because with it comes the us and them. They and I can see why communities do that, because they don't feel welcome, and they want to stick to things that are familiar, things that remind them of home, and they form bonds with other people from the same location. So I get that. But when you have entire suburbs that then seem to facilitate just the one thing, it does remove the possibility of having what you were saying before, which is everyone growing up together and there being a nice mix, and then as a result, the whole race thing just disappears, because you're just like, you're aware of them.
So my mum used to be a magistrate in Perth, and she, deals with, all sorts of just petty things like disputes between neighbours and stuff like that. And there was just this period of just of craziness at her work where we had a heap of East African migrants, and I don't know the country, but they'd all been resettled, like they're given housing, but all next to each other, right? And so one person was, there'll be two houses with two different families, and when those families lived in their country, right, one was from one group of rebels in that country, one was from the other. So they just start fighting over their fence and stuff like that. And I'm just like, that's doing nothing productive. They've just brought their war over here. Like, if we're housing them in government housing, like you've got to spread families out. I'm sure like if I was in their position, they would probably feel more comfortable being around black people if they do feel ostracized by the racist side of Australia.
Right.
But you got to get rid of that. We've got to just throw people, mix it up in a big bowl. And
and I also think something that would be beneficial is to throw in some conflict resolution education, but for everyone. Not just migrants, but it should be compulsory. It should be something that's built into our education. We're not getting it. Yeah. Conflict resolution is one of those things that you go through life in constant conflict with everyone around you because you're basically what's the word I'm looking for? Not indoctrinated, but you're influenced. Let's just go with that. To compete with one another. Everyone's competition, and of course with competition and comparison, that creates conflict, and people not having the tools to resolve these conflicts in a positive way will always just go to being destructive with one another. Judgments, and with judgments comes the assumption that you're right, the other person's wrong.
Yeah.
And that can go on and on forever, and nobody really understands what the conflict's about. I mean, at the heart of every conflict are individuals trying to meet each other's needs, their own needs. And when the two can communicate about those needs, then if something interesting happens, the conflict becomes resolved by itself. So have you ever heard of a thing called nonviolent communication?
No.
All right. That's some good stuff right there.
All right.
Nonviolent communication. I think that if it was introduced into schools, would change the world very quickly. I really do believe that. But anyway, yeah.
I've never been to the US of A, but I listen to a lot of American podcasts, and there just seems to be, especially artist podcasts where they're all poor waiters and stuff like that, and just some of the stress in their lives dealing with like tipping and stuff like that. I hope that never comes to Australia, because like when I worked for 2 years in a restaurant, right, there was the manager came back and from America, it's like, oh, there's this amazing tipping culture over there, we should try it out, you should work for your tips, and stuff like that. And what happened was the sort of really sort of down to earth Australians were just like, that's just stupid. I should just treat every customer equally fair, not who tips the most, right?
Yeah.
But then you'll get the one bad eggs, so to speak, who are like, oh, I'm going to work for tips, and they would just stop becoming team workers, because they would go, I know these guys are going to tip me well, so I'm going to drop my ball to serve them extra well, let other people deal with what I'm leaving behind because I know they're going to tip. They'll bring in their dishes and just dump them for the kitchen hands to have to sort out themselves, and then that system then broke down because the kitchen hands were spending too much time sorting all the dishes. And it's probably different in America because they've had that similar system for so long that they probably have ways around. Basically, you get fired if you don't do your bit. I don't know. But it was weird when they were trying to push the whole tipping thing at this restaurant, how it just destabilized the whole restaurant, rather than when everyone was getting paid the same amount and everyone was getting the same level of service, because there was no discrimination, because it was not like, oh, these people are going to tip more, I'm going to be better for them. It was a much more stable restaurant.
That's it, reward and punishment. I think there was some research done not long ago with regards to how well a reward system works in the workplace, and they found that it only works for a very short period of time. People need to be motivated by more than reward or punishment. Those two things won't last. And people need to be motivated through intrinsic value. They need to get something out of it that meets their personal need as an individual. Not just a couple of extra dollars, or being fired, which is what pretty much every single workplace does at the moment. But at least we do have jobs. I mean, the unemployment here hasn't increased anywhere near the amount that it has elsewhere on the planet, and that's. It's not fair. It's not fair that people don't have the ability to work and earn a living. I'd go even further to say that it's not fair that we have to earn a living. There are a lot of people that don't earn a living. The really wealthy people. I find people tend to get angry at. We have a thing called dole bludgers here in Australia. I don't know what percentage of the population do this, but they basically just live off welfare. I find that's a pretty good scapegoat. People tend to get very upset at dole bludgers, and I can see why. I mean, nobody likes the idea of people leeching off of everybody else's work. but they don't apply the same thought when it comes to excessively wealthy people. They don't think of them as leeches, but they really are.
They're earning more, but they're paying less tax than you, kind of thing.
They're paying less tax than you. They're earning so much, and they don't really do anything either. You're not going to see them, breaking a sweat during an 8-hour day of work. I'm positive most of them live off interest or have other people doing the running, of their company or whatever it is. So. Yeah, it's none of that's fair. I think it's not a fair system. I mean, if you were to take that even further, just the economic system entirely isn't fair because it allows for the exploitation of one group for the enjoyment and the excess of another. I mean, we have more slaves on this planet than we ever have in the history of humanity, and apparently slavery is supposed to be illegal. But we tend to, I suppose, we export all of the ugly stuff required to run this economic model around the planet. We don't see it. It's not local. So because of that, we don't feel anything, and we're okay with it. So we're pretty much everyone here is okay with sweatshops existing and people digging mine sites out, using manual labor, dying in the process for goodness knows how much, if they even get paid. They're all okay with it because they don't see it. It's not in their face. It doesn't affect them. And of course, they're busy trying to make their own living. So it's all backwards. And I think the thing that people, I hope, will soon enough come to realize is that consumption is our biggest enemy at the moment. This idea that we can have an economic system that just grows, constant growth. What is it growing towards? Like 50 years ago here in Australia, you used to be able to get, I think it was free university. Education was free. Dentist was free. I'm pretty sure healthcare was also free.
That's the Whitlam era.
Yeah. Electricity, I don't think they paid much for it, and water, I think was, I don't know. Don't quote me. I'm pretty sure that wasn't expensive either. It seems that with all of our progress and all of our economic growth, we've lost all of that. Nothing is free anymore, and everything's more expensive. We're working longer hours, and I don't see any clear vision of where this country or this planet is going. It just seems to be chaotic consumption, and let's just pillage this planet and make as much money as we possibly can before it self-destructs. And then who knows, maybe the wealthy people have a rocket ship that they've been developing and they've found another planet that they plan on going to or something like that, and just forget about this one and leave it behind. I don't know, but if they don't have that, then I don't know what they're thinking, because it's madness,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a big issue here where in this city is that there is a big dispute about whether shops should be open 24/7, basically.
Right. Yeah.
And like on the one hand, yes, a business owner should be able to open whenever he does. The other hand is like if shops don't get like in people who work in those businesses and stuff like that, and they have to pay people to run their stores 7 days a week, with just no limit. Let's just consume. I think that I feel like we had a reasonably good culture in Perth, considering we're like just a million people in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And I feel like as the right-wing government's trying to push consuming, that's just, we're going to become like some generic American city that's just like all about the malls and shopping and stuff like that. Like, well, they've just allowed recently they've allowed the malls to open anytime they want in Perth. So yeah. I'm worried that people, it's hard enough getting Perth people in the city and in the actual city CBD and consuming the culture there as it is. Now they have to compete against these giant monolithic malls that I don't know if they contribute anything to society.
I don't know.
That's of interest. And
I'd argue that
it's all about consuming. We want the shops open so people could just shop anytime they want, you know? Just
Yeah.
get up and go. I'm like, we have this thing called the internet now. If
Yeah.
people want to shop anytime, they can shop online.
Thank you. We don't even need
What we
malls.
need...
We don't need malls.
Yeah.
You don't even need a store, you know?
If they want to give people unlimited consumption, let's say, look, the city, you can go to the city CBD, and they can open 24/7, right? Let's bring people in the city, give people an incentive to live there. That's the biggest
Yeah.
problem we have in Perth is people don't live in the city. They go to work there, then they turn off the lights and go home.
To their urban sprawl.
To the urban sprawl, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just going to get worse now because now that the city has no advantage over the malls, because before the city was allowed to open longer with the open trading hours, I hope that doesn't happen. Hopefully Perth people have enough sense to go, oh, it's nice to hang out in the city, and they are building some stuff to try and attract more people in there, but they need to build apartments, but people won't move there if it's just too expensive. If it's just really expensive and you get no benefit from living in the urban sprawl.
That reminds me of something I really wanted to mention to you. Have you heard of cement printing?
No.
All right. Okay, cool. So it's this technology that's been developed. Have you heard of 3D printing?
Yeah.
Oh, wicked. Okay, so it's an extension of that idea. This scientist developed a special type of cement that would keep its shape. Because at the moment when you pour cement, it just kind of goes splat. It just goes in all directions. It doesn't hold any form. So he developed a formula that would allow cement to come out from more or less like a paste, and just created a very large crane system that would run on 3 axes and would just print. So you would literally upload your design, your house, whatever. The actual the printing device itself is automated. It basically builds itself, puts itself together, and then it would print. And they can produce an entire whole 3-bedroom house with all of the piping and electrical in 20 hours. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Or 3 1-bedroom, 1 bathroom little thingies, which would be great for disasters. I mean, think about that. But what does that say for our housing issues? The worst thing about living in a highly populated area is that the prices of houses go up so much because everybody wants a house and they're not building enough houses, and it takes too long to build a house, and it's excessively wasteful. I mean, our building practices haven't really changed very much in the last 100 years. We've gotten power tools, but apparently close to 70% of materials that go towards building a house go to waste, which is huge amount of energy and huge amount of waste. So this would revolutionize everything. It really would. And it would take care of a lot of problems. And on the topic of getting people to live in apartments, I love the idea of apartments. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah,
because you can't keep bulldozing, forests down and spreading out like a virus and just taking over the entire surface of the planet, because you need different ecosystems, because each ecosystem provides something else for the planet, which is important. And all the animals and insects and all these things, you can't just let them all go extinct, because who knows what we'll discover within there, sometime in the future. So, with building apartments, that is definitely the way to go, but I think apartments need to be rethought. Nobody wants to live in a box, especially a box where they have to share a wall with somebody else and they're going to be able to hear everything that they're saying and they're doing. The idea of living in a box on top of one another, sound aside, there's real potential for each apartment building to have its own culture and have more built within. I mean, they touch on it when they introduce things like a gym, swimming pool, all that sort of stuff. Those are great, really big bonuses. They should go further. I think every apartment building should produce its own food, and that food should be. It's like every apartment should have a greenhouse, built into it that everyone can enjoy, and it should all basically produce its own electricity and do all those things. I mean, if you remove costs and you provide a lifestyle and you eliminate all the things that are annoying about living in apartments that we all have to put up with today, like sound, and everyone gets their space and not excessive, like everyone gets a mansion, just comfort, real comfort, But I think people need to get out of this idea that excess is great, because we don't live on a planet that is unlimited. And when we overconsume, that's I've heard somebody else refer to it as a violent act, because you're using up resources that other people need, and by them not having access to those resources, they suffer. Which is what violence is, causing other people suffering. So, and I like that way of thinking about it, because I think it's very to the point. So, these apartments could be designed, reimagined, and could be wonderful places, and I think that's very exciting. So, check out that cement printing thing. It's really cool.
I was going to ask you, you were doing a lot of 3D work.
Yes, I was. Yeah.
Are you still doing stuff like that?
Yeah,
getting into 3D printing.
Oh no! Well, actually, that's just around the corner for me, man. That's something that I'm really excited about. I've just recently started to delve into a thing called aquaponics. It's where you grow vegetables and fish at the same time. You create this symbiotic system where the fish's waste basically gets converted into nutrients that the plants can absorb. You don't have to add anything to that. It's just natural bacteria that converts their waste into this nutrients. So the water from the fish tank goes to these beds where the plants live. They absorb the nutrients and they filter out the water, and then the clean water goes back into the fish tank. So you can grow some really cool stuff in these setups. I've actually seen entire banana trees being grown within these things. So, it's not just small vegetables. You grow big stuff too. So I've gotten really interested in that, and I started building a small greenhouse in a cousin's backyard just to do some experimentation and just see what happens. And along with that, I've also looked into building a small wind generator as well. Right now, I've had to build it out of steel, so I've been fabricating it, and of course, the design has to be very basic in order to be able to fabricate out of steel. So, because I don't have any special Fandangle tools, just welders, cutters, that sort of thing. But with 3D printing, that will basically let me, consider some really cool designs and go into it from that angle. So I'm looking into getting a 3D printer of my own and basically building the different sections of another wind generator and see how that goes. But I did 3D in terms of design. I did a lot of stuff for character design for possibly animations or games. That's what I really enjoyed, and I was hoping to get a job doing that in Sydney, but that didn't happen. So I've just I worked as a graphic designer in Sydney for quite a few years. Did some acting, but that was my main living was graphic design. So kind of wished I had the opportunity to work in the game industry just to see what the difference was. It's one of those questions
because I think in Sydney it's been an issue because I didn't like the Bondi Games, whatever, who made Lauren. What's the game of the
LA Noire? Yes.
They collapsed. And that employed most of the game industry in Sydney or something, didn't it? I don't know.
Did they collapse?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's probably why I couldn't get a job.
That would be why. Actually, they were a company that I did have a job interview for. They made me sit...
They released the game and they just died the next day. They just went bankrupt.
Didn't the game do well, though?
Oh, yeah. Critically amazing. But they had spent so much making it that they were broke before the game came out and no one would give them any money to survive and to see if the game ever made a profit, And I think it was
that's sad.
the people who were running it were pretty dodgy as well. So
Oh,
they were,
okay.
Stealing money out of the company. And
Oh
stuff like
no,
that.
no, that's
Oh, that's right. No, they weren't paying people properly, so you wouldn't have got paid if you worked there.
Dude, that happens so much. There was a game company here in Perth that had the same thing. They were developing some massive multiplayer
Soccer game?
Huh?
It's a soccer
Yes,
game. Yeah.
yes. I have a couple
read
of
a few
friends
blogs
that-
about people who lost their job. Yeah.
Yeah, and what was it, like several months of wages that they didn't pay, and the company went bankrupt, and then the company sent somebody out to basically take the hard drives and take it back to America so that they could still use the content at some later date in the future. And all the workers were very upset about that and tried to stop that from happening, because they're like, well, hey, you didn't pay us for the work, so that actually should be our property.
Yeah.
Which is fair,
Yeah.
that makes sense. But so no, I didn't get to do that in Sydney. Maybe one day. The whole game thing, I think, caught my interest, but I really think this whole designing something in 3D and then making it has just captured my imagination in a totally different way. The enthusiasm I had for games then is what I have now for that sort of thing. Something tangible, and also something you can build a machine. That's crazy. It's so cool.
If because it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see how it evolves. Like how easy it is to say sell your designs when people can just pirate your design and not pay you and stuff like that.
Well, what do you think of selling? I really like the idea of going to an open source economy at some stage. A share economy rather than a private property and copyright economy. Because I think every idea we have is it's either inspired by another idea, or either way, if it's not inspired by another idea, it's built upon. You know what I mean? So how is it that that's original?
Yeah.
And how is it that we have any right to say, I own this? And if anything, this system really works very well for extremely wealthy people and wealthy companies, because they can patent stuff. So if you invent something, and let's say it's going to be a threat to their established technology, they can just buy it and put it on the shelf. And because they now own the rights to it, nobody else can use it. So how's that fair? Especially if it's a technology that could benefit so many people.
Yeah.
So I think it's the same thing with everything else. I'm all for collaboration over competition, and I'm all for just, you want it, have it. I love that. I think that'll take humanity further than trying to get every cent out of anyone as you possibly can. It's a very marginal and selfish way of living, and so
I'm not in the 3D printing world, but I listen to podcasts and stuff where people talk about, and they talk about a thing called Thingiverse, which is like a social network for 3D printers. They can share designs and
I've heard
stuff
of it
like
as well.
that.
Yeah, it's really cool. Have you heard of the open source ecology project?
No.
That's also along the same lines.
Oops.
It's this engineer went off and decided to create a simple version of all the major technologies that have been invented to basically allow modern civilization to exist. Things like generators, tractors.
Yes,
all that
no,
sort of stuff.
I have heard about. Yes,
Yeah.
people, trying to create designs so you can, they can anyone anywhere in the world could download designs and build.
Yes.
Like in a third world country, and go, oh, let's build a tractor for the community.
Yep.
Yeah, and not have to pay royalties and stuff like that. Yeah.
What? You have to pay royalties?
No, you don't have to.
Oh, yeah, I thought I misread that, yeah. Yeah, that's right. And because it's open source, anyone can jump on and go, hey, I can do it better. Let's fix this, and, it evolves, which is, I love that.
So I know they talk about, people who use Thingiverse use a cheap 3D printer.
RepRap?
Maybe, I don't know. But they're trying to try and bring it down to because, the people I listen to who have one, they like their first one cost 15,000, then the new model came out that came at 10,000, and the new one 6,000. The people who are making them just keep trying to bring the price down to a point where, you know, it's like buying a good DSLR camera, you know.
Yes.
And people can.
I've seen it for $1,000, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's affordable.
Mhm.
You know, I was like, wow, I could really buy this. Yeah. So, what, are you interested in as well? Is something you might want to do?
I'd have no
desire.
skills
Oh, okay.
in that in that area. You know, like I have friends who are like really good artists, and like you know, they draw and stuff like that, and I'll be wondered like, and they've done some sculpting, but I wondered if they tried to immerse themselves in that digital world and was able to just instantly make something rather than having to sculpt it, you know, by hand, and whether they would just embrace that world or not. Or
Oh yeah, that would be interesting.
and it's easy to sell. Like my friend, like, he sells drawings on his website, and so only the people who are sort of interested in putting something on the wall in. But I mean, if he can make figurines of stuff he you know, makes it much more tangible. Like people feel like they're getting value when they buy something. It's not just something they could, because you know, they could print out the version on his website that you preview and put it up. You know, only people who are really passionate about his art buy it because they're genuine fans. They want to have the original.
Yep.
Rather than when he could duplicate one of his designs easily and it gets a physical object that they can, you know, put on there.
Well, dude.
But of course, then people could just build. If everyone's got a 3D printer, they could just buy their own. Yeah.
It's my partner.
Oh yeah, sure. Do you want to answer?
Yeah.
We'll just go take a break.
All right. Thanks. Hello. Hey, Regis. How are you? Yes, I was planning on getting coffee on the way home. I don't know. I don't even know what time it is. I've immersed myself in James's radio world.
5.
It's 4:45. Ah, hey, yeah, 4:45. We've been talking for like an hour and a half. Far out. James. Jenny says hello.
Hello.
Huh? All right then. All right, bye. Bye. Okay.
What is that you're rocking?
Sorry?
What is that?
This is a phone.
Yeah, but what kind of phone?
Sony Xperia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Running Android? You just bought the phone.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is running Android.
I know that these Windows phones came out that day, and I'm curious to see them. But
The new Windows phones?
yeah,
Mm.
my cousin bought one. He's like, messaged me going, "Oh my god, it's the most amazing thing I've ever bought." Hello, we're back on the air. Oh, do you have to go? Are we gonna wrap up? Or you?
Well, no. I'm not having far too good a time. No, I don't have to go. I can keep hanging out. Probably another half hour or so. Yeah.
What were we talking about?
Let's go back on the
3D
topic.
printing.
Yeah, let's go back on the topic of film.
Yeah.
I really want to make something.
Yeah.
And I'm actually in the process of updating a showreel at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'll be doing next weekend. Do you know do you have any friends that might be interested in being actors? I need two actors, a male and a female.
Not offhand.
Yeah.
I have, people from PAC on Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah, they'd probably be keen. Have you worked with anyone?
Who do you need? What kind of thing?
One scene is going to be a boyfriend girlfriend scene.
Mm-hmm.
Think Dawson's Creek or something like that. So, moderately fairly attractive female. And another scene is just going to be in a pub. And that's going to be more of a looking for just a guy that doesn't look too soft. So
Like an older guy or
No,
the same age as you?
roughly the same age as me, but somebody that looks like he, I don't know, could pass for a criminal or something like that.
I know. Yeah, so I don't know who's in Perth at the moment. I know Lee. Did you ever meet Lee at PAC? He's always up for that kind of stuff. But
Lee, no. Look, I didn't do that
I think he's in Sydney.
Yeah, great.
I should have a list of people. Steve Hooton, who's been spammed on Facebook.
So, what do you think about taking the big woo and expanding on it? Too much work? Is this something you think has potential?
I think the idea has potential. I don't know whether I would have time to do it. It depends how we made it. Like, if we were actually trying to do a really good thing. If we're trying to do the big woo where we're just making it in half a day, then yes. The issue comes with, you really need a sound guy.
Yeah.
And then you got to pay someone to do it. Because I'm sick of chasing out people who, sometimes you can find, someone at film school who just wants to be on it, but then they don't turn up because they,
change their mind or didn't feel
or they
like
live
it.
in Joondalup, so it's costing them money to come here, but I can give them some money for fuel, or they don't even have a car, so
Yeah.
they have to take the train, and I'll pick them up from the train station, but because I can't go pick them up because it takes if I have to go out to Joondalup and then come back to film.
Yeah. You could just film in Joondalup.
I've been some dodgy places trying to chase sound guys. So then you have to get money to pay someone.
And that gets expensive.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's my main issue, which at
So it always been sound.
the moment I can't afford.
Yeah.
And then I
what
would
is
have
with
to
that
film.
though,
At the
man?
moment, I have to film on my iPhone because that's all I've got really to film
All
stuff
right.
on. Which might be a fine, not such a problem, but
When generally we went to LA for a little while and did a few workshops there. It's really interesting that the culture there among actors is so different to what I've experienced here. Over there, they really have a collaborative spirit that they all try and help each other out. They don't see each other as competition.
yeah.
Which I feel that over here, this place really suffers that. So as a result, they tend to, if they don't end up getting anything, there aren't roles for, say, their character, they'll find people that they get along with, and they all work together and make something. And so many of them have ended up getting roles later on, or movies or whatever, as a result of working and putting something of their own together that really, I suppose, I don't know, that developed their skills or just promoted them in a particular way.
Yeah.
So, whereas over here I found quite the opposite.
Just people. It's just this is the problem I have with podcasts as well. It's not just filmmaking, but trying to explain to someone, hey, there's something other than terrestrial radio. You don't have to spend $1 million to buy a radio antenna to broadcast just to Perth. You can spend $20 and broadcast to the entire world. And, just trying to... They don't even know what these things are.
Yeah.
And I obviously live in a very different culture because I'm, I guess geeky and stuff like that, and I explore the internet and stuff, so I see all these different things. So, but, just trying to explain to someone, I'm doing a podcast, you should do one, and they're like, what's a podcast? And I'm like, and it's not just their fault, Apple just Apple, who's now become, everyone's got an iPhone. It could be the perfect platform for podcasts, but they have completely sabotaged podcasts because, for whatever reason, I don't understand when... I'd understand back when they were not that big a company, And I'm like, well, they don't want to encourage podcasts because it's a free and open thing, so Hollywood can't control it. But now that they could buy all of Hollywood with just their spare change, literally, they're not trying to do new things. They're still stuck in that same system. And so until podcasts are on like the home screen on your phone,
Yeah.
because that's what happened. Look at smartphone apps. When Apple put the app Store on an iPhone, everyone's making apps. Apps are the new thing. You know?
Yeah.
If they had podcasts on the home screen and they actually worked, they would take off. You know, this is an argument I get in every week. But like, you know, if you buy an iPod today, right, it can just out of the box, it can you can subscribe to a magazine and have it automatically deliver issues to you. An iPod, this thing, out of the box. Subscribe, you can pay a fee or get it for free and automatically downloads in the background. It's there when you wake up in the morning and ready to go. But I'm like, people don't buy iPods to read magazines. They they use them to listen to music and play podcasts, you know. That's what why are they propping up the magazine industry, which is dead? Like, why they must have
that's
friends.
a good point.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
I understand on an iPad where it's actually a nice thing to read, but on an iPod,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
But that gets into the problem where, like, how would we get into this? Oh yeah, the same thing where I'm like, hey, we should collaborate on something, and we'll put it on YouTube and go to the world. And they're like, well, do I get paid? I'm like, well, no, but if it becomes a viral hit,
Exactly.
it might lead to better things. It's hard to explain people.
Seriously, what is up with that? It's the
Which
they
is
all
what
just think about
in
money.
LA, in that culture where everyone's trying to get attention, they understand that because they go, oh, no one's going to pay us until they've seen stuff we've done, so we've got to build a body of work for
Exactly.
free.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, what's really interesting is that even when you get actors that are probably going for similar roles as yourself, that might look similar to you, and you get put forward for similar stuff. They also don't tend to try and sabotage you or try and compete with you. They tend to, whoever gets the job, great. They're happy for each other. It just seems to be a very different culture they have going. Whereas over here, it's all about what have you done, what have you been in, what audition do you have coming up? I should be going for that, not you. That sort of thing, which isn't inducive for a positive culture, and it's quite frustrating because like you said, I'm an actor, you're a director, and a cinematographer, and a sound guy, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Pick one. You're a bunch of stuff, and I know other people that are also in the same industry. We're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
You need actors. We need writers and directors.
Yeah.
So I think that's what PAC has been trying to establish.
I think PAC's great. Yeah.
But it still hasn't. It still doesn't get that. I think it should really hone that in from the very get-go. It should really say, hey, you guys need to learn to work together, and you guys need to put money aside and start helping each other out. I still think even in PAC there is competition.
Yeah.
Have
you been to it recently?
Not recently.
Because I think it's fallen apart because people like me don't turn up because I couldn't go because I just didn't have the money to go, and then she was like, "Oh, you can come do it for free," but then I'm like, "Well, I still have to spend just to make a movie that stimulates me. I gotta spend even just the Big Woo, you had to spend a lot of money. I think I spent $1,000 on the Big Woo.
Are you serious?
And you can't even tell. It's just because you're in the crunch and you got to do something. Like I had to buy this. This is what I bought for Big Woo to record the sound, but it didn't work, so the sound's all rubbish. It might have been good if you had someone like a sound guy who could use it probably, but you could probably buy it $300 in the States, but because I needed it that weekend.
Yeah. That's a really good point. PAC should definitely come with equipment.
Well, they do. They've got well, I don't know if it's still going, but they have a discount, and that's why I had. Speaking of people from Pack, I just had another guy, Brendan, who he just did it just to get when they have this discount at the Lidl place in Lidl, you get a discount from them.
Is it a significant discount? Are we talking like cheap?
Yeah, I mean,
it should be for free. That's what I'm getting at. Like it should be.
Yeah, but
like
you can't expect her to invest all this money because it just goes out of date. You know, I can't.
Yeah.
You know, the batteries are dead inside. You can't replace the battery unless you send it off to the US. So it just stays plugged into power and records podcasts instead of recording movies. So I'd have to buy a new one if I have to. And you can rent them, but then you end up paying so much money in rental fees.
I didn't even know that you spent that much money on the Big Woo.
Yeah, well, it wasn't like, it was just like, we wanted to make that movie in time, and I'm like, I need a better way to record sound because I know that I won't have a sound guy, so I can't have, him bring up.
And that's what you're getting at. You're basically saying that Pack itself doesn't seem to be...
I think it's totally worth it. It's just that if I'm out of money, I can't do it because I'm not interested. Like she wouldn't mind if I turned up and we just shot it on my iPhone as long as we have something to show at the end of the night. But my only sort of interest is to actually make something that I can put in my portfolio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's what most people
and once
want out of it anyway.
Yeah, I got to the point where I'm just doing the same stuff every pack. I want to go back to writing and concentrate on writing. So yeah. That's what I've been doing for the past year.
See, that's what I didn't like about Pack was that it was very much a competition. You did want to win. You wanted approval. Every actor wanted approval.
I like that. What I didn't like is the people that didn't really take it that seriously. Like they treated it like it was school, and it's just like being. Like the thing I liked about it is that we got to put it on end of you got 6 weeks.
Yeah.
You put something up on screen and then you got ripped to shreds for it, by the critics. And I love that. I mean that idea of having a goal and getting critique for it and getting to screen it in front of it is fun to show something that you've raced around the clock to make it because of the time constraints. And a lot of the time it's not just. Time constraint was because people they were like, I thought I only had to turn up on Thursday night to do something. I'm like, well, yes, but you got to turn out more nights during the week if you want to rehearse, film and stuff like that. And no one would do it, and they'll be like, I was going to go to the movies tonight. I'm like, well, look, hey, you only get what you put in,
Yeah.
If you just turn up on the day and film it and just let me edit it, it's just going to look like crap.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was I get where you're coming from with having a deadline and having a critique where you can get feedback and see where you've gone right, where you can improve. For me, the competition thing as an actor, I thought was detrimental to the actor because everyone wanted the approval and everyone wanted.
Well, it's probably completely different for actor.
Sure. For you guys, it's like it shouldn't be different. It shouldn't be different. But I think with the actor gets so much credit for the final product. You know what I mean? Like if you do a good job and I do a good job, I'll probably get more of the credit than you'll get. You know what I mean? And a lot of the, I suppose, glory comes with it. And then as the actor, amongst other actors, they all get jealous of that attention because they all want the same attention. And it just kind of, you just get this petty kind of competition happening when it shouldn't be that at all. It should be the opposite. It should be like, that was awesome. You rocked in that. Let's collaborate. What did you do that I can learn, and vice versa? You know what I mean? So I think that's where it didn't quite work out for me. And it took me a long time to kind of get out of that mentality because you go along with the culture for quite a while, and it's not nice to feel like you look bad in front of other people. So you do everything you can to be safe and impress and all that sort of stuff. Now I've gotten to the opposite side of the spectrum. I just could not care less. You know what I mean? Like when I come across actors that are in that mindset, they bore me. It's like, oh man, come on, like let's you got to have more interest than just acting. First of all, you got to be a person.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
You got to have experiences and opinions and all that sort of stuff. But for me, what's most important is gotta have your head screwed on right and stop trying to show off. 'Cause I think a lot of actors fall into that trap, right?
Yeah.
Where, which is understandable to an extent, but I don't think it leads very far. You know, I think the ones that hang in there and do well.
I mean, I can tell. Like, it's funny. Like, I've noticed the people I've worked through from PAC. The people I can tell who's going to be successful because that, like, the thing that Big Roo worked well was because we were trying to get like different ideas through and then trying to decide on something and I seem to remember you saying, look, there's an idea, let's just set a time, everyone turn up on that day and we'll try and do it, and the reason it worked was because like people didn't have time to people had to improvise.
Yeah.
We accidentally improvised the whole thing because of the time pressure, and so it wasn't as stagnant. I mean, there's still stagnant bits in it, but it wasn't as stagnant as other stuff, and which I actually tried to do in all my future things, but then it was quite hard to quite hard to say when you get a whole new group of actors to work with in the future packs, and you say, hey, I'm just going to give you the story, right? Because I don't trust you to learn the lines. I don't tell them that, but I don't trust you to learn the lines. Because I remember we turned up at that liquor store to film that scene. We didn't even end up filming it because someone didn't learn the lines.
Yeah, I know.
From then on, I was just like pushing a lot. I'm just going to give you like the treatment. I'm going to tell you each scene, and this is the goal of your character. Your character is the goal of it's got to you've got to ask this person out on a date or whatever. And then let's just work on it. And we just have to do it on the day. And so it all comes down to what happens on the day.
Yeah.
It'd be even cooler if you're like, if we were going to do a web series where we could actually do that, but actually get people to turn up to rehearse.
Yeah.
Then use the rehearsal as a way to lock stuff, see what works in rehearsal, and then lock it down.
I love that. I love that as an idea. Improvisation is the best, especially for comedy. I really do think that comedy lives off of a spontaneous moment that just accidentally happens, And I think that's probably why the Big Woo did have that. Yeah. It was spontaneous and there was a lot of improvisation. It was interesting with I can't remember what his name was, but it started off quite slow, and we did play with it quite a few times to kind of loosen it up and get it feeling more spontaneous. I like that idea, I really do, and I think my question is, how do the actors normally respond to that sort of a suggestion? They like it?
Well, this is what I was going to say, is that the people who like it are now in Sydney getting work. The people who don't like it, didn't get out of Perth, or but the thing about PAC is that some people just turned up just because it's like a club
something
to be
do.
in.
Yeah.
They don't take it seriously as a career, so they won't commit to going, I want to be 100% into this because, I'll work all night to get this because of, and
I think a lot of them don't even know what it's like in the industry. Yeah. There's really long shifts, when you're on a set, you're there until they wrap.
Yeah.
And as an actor, there's just a lot of downtime, a lot of sitting around, waiting. I got to be on set for, what was it? Oh, The Great Gatsby. A lot of people did.
Oh, cool.
But it was fun experience because I got to just see how big the sets were that they used. And I was just on this train scene. I got dressed up, which was cool. Had a little cigarette.
Oh, right. Yeah, all period.
Yeah. It was supposed to be a really hot day, and it was actually pouring outside. So they had these massive lights to blow out, to maybe create the illusion that there's a hot sun, and it's a hot day. And it was freezing, absolutely freezing. And we were there for about 12 hours. And I would say only 3 or 4 of those hours were actual filming. The rest was sitting around, waiting. And it wasn't waiting playing on your phone. You weren't allowed to bring a phone. You weren't allowed to do any of that stuff. It wasn't reading a book. You were just sitting literally on standby. We were on location, so there was nowhere to go hang out. You were just on the little train, and you weren't allowed to leave, and you just sat there for hours and hours and hours. That's the job.
Yeah.
That's it. And I was one of the lucky ones. There were a bunch of guys that were playing laborers, and because the train goes through this impoverished section of town, and it was called like Valley of Ashes or something like that.
Yeah.
And there were all these laborers just like with their shirts off, shoveling and breaking stuff, and they had to stand out there for hours while it was raining and really cold, and on top of that, makeup had to go and drench them with oil as well to make them look like they were sweaty. So they were messy, sweaty, cold, and actually doing work. So yeah, I was like, I'm lucky being on this side of the train.
I've been an extra for friends in some of their films, and like just got like really badly sunburnt because like the makeup artist doesn't want you to wear just normal sunscreen, and then they're like, oh no, this makeup's got SPF something in it, and I'm just like, I don't really trust you. And sure enough, end of day, I'm just like, ah. But yeah, you're just sitting around for the entire day going, oh, it's like hell.
And that's why, as I say, you've got to either have some sort of passion. Well, you have to have some sort of a desire to be in that industry, and that's to be more reason behind getting into it than, oh, I want to be famous. Oh, I want to go to these parties, and I want glamour and people to give me free stuff. That's obnoxious and really shallow. And I don't think many people that truly feel that way. I can't see how you could last when the reality is so opposite. It's not glamorous. A lot of it's really boring. There is a lot of hard work as well. And the new James Bond movie, Daniel Craig, he said he spent most of the 6 months just running.
Yeah.
That's what he said he did. Yeah. He said, it wasn't fun. He said he zoned out most of the time. He said it was actually really boring. And yeah, that's it. I suppose people don't really think about it that way. They just think, oh my God, it's such an extravagant life. Such this, such that, No, it's not. But, yeah, for me, the reason I like it, is I like what it could do. I think, entertainment and, spreading a message is really cool. Making people think, that's awesome. I think as a medium, it's pretty amazing. I think it's misused a lot of the time, and a lot of it's produced to promote consumption. But there is some really cool stuff out there as well, and I think that's really inspiring. You know, docos is something I've really gotten into, and we can't really be an actor for a doco. But there's some wicked documentaries out there. Mockumentaries, yes, that'd be cool. Anyway, man, I really like that idea about doing some sort of an improv thing. Do you know of other people that might be interested in that sort of thing? That would like it?
No.
That's
the problem. I'm like, I mean, that was another good thing about PAC. Like, you meet people, and which is why I would still like to do it, if I had the time. Just meeting different people, and
you kept in contact with any of them regularly?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I did film the pilot for the web series last year, like, I got one guy that I met through PAC from that, and everyone else was just my friends that just, they didn't have like speaking lines.
Yeah,
he did all the speaking, and then even then that's the same situation where, like, I had to edit, and he only had 2 days notice because I only had the camera for this. I only found out that I would have access to a camera to film it for this certain amount of time, so I had to just run and make it in like 48 hours again, like the Big Woo. So it was all, and he had all the lines because I don't trust my friends with any lines, and then but he didn't have time to learn them all, so the whole thing's edited around, and just him, like his ability to read the lines. So like every time it cuts away from his face, he's basically reading off the script, you know. And it's not his fault because it was like a huge monologue, and we just had to do it, you know.
Yeah.
So we had to best it. Is he? You know, he's the reason I got him because he was the only one I knew he would be good enough to commit to.
Right.
Commit to that crazy idea. Hey, can you? We needed this 2-page monologue tomorrow. Can we do it? He's like, yes, let's try and do it.
All right.
So yeah, he's pretty cool.
Oh, wicked.
But other than that, no.
What about this?
But everyone's gone to Sydney, so all the people that I stay in touch with,
they all moved to Sydney. They'll come back.
Yeah,
They'll come back for a pit stop before they move to LA or something like that. Yeah, no, I think there
Did you
is
see
more.
any people from PAC over in Sydney?
I bumped into one person from PAC, and that was about it. Yeah, while I was over there, I got a couple of bits in some American shows that were being produced in Sydney. They weren't big parts, but they were kind of like crime shows, like reenactment crime shows, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I got a few of those, which was cool, and I worked on a couple of commercial and just some background stuff as well. So not a huge amount, to be honest. Getting auditions was really hard. It's kind of like, I think you're either an actor with money or you're not an actor at all. Like, I think you need to be able to commit to just going to auditions. It was hell, absolute hell. Well, such an exaggeration.
Trying to balance work and
yeah,
getting auditions.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I need to go audition now, and they're like, what?
Yeah, because they do that. They call you at like, I don't know, 4:00 in the afternoon, and they say, "Hey, there's an audition for you tomorrow at 10. Can you do it?" Like, I don't know. Let me ask the boss. And the boss is always going to say, no. Or if they say yes, they're going to make you, feel it. They're going to make you feel it, in the sense that it's going to be a big favor that they're doing for you, and you should be so grateful that they're letting you do this. Unless you happen to have a cool boss, which I didn't. So that was very frustrating to try and juggle that, And after getting about 6 or so auditions while working for this one company, it just got too much.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I just don't feel comfortable asking anymore. So as soon as an audition comes through, I'm just going to say, no, I can't go for it because it's just going to cause too many problems in this work environment.
Yeah.
And I wasn't getting enough consistent acting work for it to be my main job. So, so we're kind of taking a different approach this time around. Jen's going to go over to America, and she's going to stay there for about 3 months. And I'm going to stay there for 1 month, hence the reason we're updating our short reels. So when we go over, we'll be fully prepared. I'm going to stay for the 1 month, and then on my return, I'm going to just continue to support her while she's over there. Yeah. So she'll suss it out, and hopefully she'll get work, and we'll just kind of take it from there, that sort of thing. So, yeah, that's kind of the, loose plan of things. But at the same time, I've just recently got a green card, and which is cool for me, yay. But I don't think I'm going to get work in America, so I intend on extending my out of America like time period. You can extend the amount of time you're out of the country with a green card to 2 years, but you can only do it once.
Right, yeah.
So what I'm planning on doing is basically doing that and working here for a while, saving up some money, see how Jen goes, and then on her return, either saving up to maybe move over on a more permanent kind of thing, or who knows. But I definitely have a few things, kind of, little projects that I intend on working on. But one of the main ones is, collaborating, doing some cool stuff. So, we should do that.
Yeah. Where, What was I going to say? Is it? Well, it's quite hard to get a green card, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it took well over half a year.
So what do you apply? Do you have family there or anything?
Jen, just got family there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Mm.
So you guys, it's that hurdle is over for you guys, kind of thing. It's just now trying to find the money to support it.
Yeah. Because that is a big hurdle. Because if you don't have the ability to work, then it doesn't matter. You're gonna have to go back and forward. If you're an established actor, it's not a big deal. But I haven't had the opportunity to establish myself and get onto any Australian shows like Neighbours, Home and Away, or any of those sort of things. But even they struggle with it, I suppose. Who knows how many people? I've heard some statistic like every month another 20,000 actors move to LA. I can't.
Oh, right.
I don't believe that for a second. I think that's a bit of an exaggeration. But if you don't have a green card or you're not a citizen, then you're not able to work as anything other than what you've specified. So if you go over and you want to act, well, if you don't get acting work, you're not allowed to work as like a designer or a psychologist or whatever.
Okay.
But if you go over and you're qualified as a graphic designer, you can't work as an actor. It's just whatever. And that's the cool thing about being a citizen or having a green card. You can work, as anything as long as you get the job. So, yeah.
So what, you will be able to design over there?
I will, but I don't want to. I kind of see the month that I'm over there as a holiday, with
cool.
Hopefully some auditions. But that's what I look at. I'm just gonna relax. I mean, this year I've worked as a trade assistant to Boilermakers in the cement truck industry. That's a really physical job. I spent so much of my time breaking concrete. It's like,
really?
Yes, yeah, and inside bowls. Those they're called agitators.
Yeah.
Big bowls, confined space, very dusty, very dirty.
In Leederville?
Yeah, in Leederville. Yeah, on Tandy Street. There's a place there, a workshop there, a big one.
Wow.
And we service Hanson, Holcim, Ready Mix, all the big cement companies. They even do site work. They send boilies out to fix plants and all that sort of stuff. So
I did breaking concrete my first year out of high school, and I don't think I'm going to try and avoid it for myself.
Yes, it is one of those jobs.
Although
right?
at least I assume you get to do it inside, or no, or still in a confined space, so it's rubbish.
I've done all three. I've done outside, inside, and confined spaces.
Yeah.
I think they're all pretty bad. Confined spaces can be, I'd say, are the worst out of the bunch because depending on what section of the mixer you're in, it gets tighter, and more awkward. And of course, the cement thus gets harder to access, and more stuff flies into your face, like directly onto your face, because you get this splatter, as the air chisel is smashing away at the concrete. It spurts everywhere, dust goes everywhere, and chips, just kind of fly towards you, and you can't do anything about it. You wear those plastic face masks, but then they all get clouded and you can't see. So it's you're kind of deciding whether can I see, or do I have to put up with having this stuff hitting me in the face. So yeah, it's not pleasant. But the cool thing about it is I do like that it's physical. I like that it's active. As a graphic designer, you just sit in front of a computer all day long, right? For 8 hours. I like the change. For me, that's what was attractive about it. The other thing that's cool about it is after doing it, pretty much every other job feels easy.
Yeah.
You're like, I broke concrete, whatever else I do from here is just going to be cinch, because you got this point of reference. So, yeah. So that's why the America thing is just a holiday for me. I was like, I don't have to break concrete. I can just sleep. And
when do you guys go?
January 6th.
So when you'll be back?
February 8th, I think.
Yeah.
I think we're going to leave on the 6th. Yeah. So that's when I will return.
And you definitely have to go back soon.
Yes, you after you get approval for a green card, you're only allowed to be out of the country for 10 months.
Yeah. How long have you been out now?
Sounds like you're talking about being in jail or something. How long have you been?
Yeah. No, I'm just like, what's your timeline? Like, do you have to be back?
Yeah. I have to be back in January.
First off.
Actually, March. March was.
So that month holiday counts as you being back in the country.
That's right. Okay. That's right. And you can only apply for the extension from within the country. So that's why we figured we'd do it. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. Speaking of prison, did you know that America has the highest percentage of prisoners on the planet?
Yeah.
You did? Okay. So here's the figure. I think I was watching
a Louis Theroux documentary.
Louis Theroux.
If you like documentaries, check his stuff out.
I have seen his documentaries. Yeah. Yes, they are good. A
bit offbeat.
Yes, I like that. I like that dynamic. I think out of the world's entire prison population, so every country's prisoners, if you put them in one pool, of that number, 1 in 4 would be American. So they got 25% of the world's prison population.
And they only have 300 million of the 7 billion people.
Yes. That's ridiculous, right?
Crazy.
And of that prison population, here's where it gets where it all starts to make sense. They've monopolized about 3 manufacturing industries in America.
Wow. Okay.
Because what they do is they make their prisoners work for like 5 cents a day or whatever. So the entire paint manufacturing industry they run. I can't remember what the other 2 were, but not only, if that's not bad enough, these prisons, they're all privately owned, they actually trade on the stock market.
Yeah.
So the value of their shares go up when they have more prisoners. That just makes no sense whatsoever. That's you're promoting the concept of putting people in jail because there's money to be made out of putting people in jail. It's so perverted.
Well, it's funny at some of the at the recent American election, some of the states at the same time legalized marijuana.
Oh, yeah.
And the argument against it was saying, well, if we legalize marijuana, we'll be jailing less people, in which case it'll affect the whole jail industry.
Oh, no way.
Wow,
that's really
people
honest.
have to go to jail for some minor, for smoking a spliff and
yes,
and obviously all the dealers that deal it and stuff. But once you make that whole industry legal, it's like, oh, we have less people to lock up now.
Yep. Yep. And that supports that the whole legal system supports industries. Judges, lawyers, police officers.
The lawyers are making all the money.
They're all getting a cut.
It's only guaranteed industry to get in and get work because you'll always get work.
That's true. Yeah.
But then I think my sister's doing the one I see the stuff studying. I'm just like, oh, it looks like
such nonsense, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think we need more.
But in the long run, she'll die not in a ditch, in like a park bench somewhere, wrapped in a newspaper. So
what? I missed that. She'll not.
She won't die wrapped in newspapers on a park bench somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Compared to me.
Okay. Oh, I see. Because you're the struggling artist.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I get that. But it's a kind of a sellout, right? Like I think that through pursuing something that you're passionate about, you enjoy, I think that suffering actually provides you with so much more in the long run. There's growth there. You develop into whatever person you end up becoming, and I think that to sell out and just do something because it pays you well, it's so unfulfilling. And I really do think that those people end up being miserable and living a very marginal life and experiencing quite little. They see the world through a box and they're happy with that, content with it, but there's not much potential there. So I'm all for forgetting about money and kind of going, I'm just going to do what's right for me, what feels good, So, yeah. Keep making stuff. from
Yeah.
one artist to another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should probably wrap it up.
Okay.
Thanks for listening, all these random people who are listening.
Yeah, thanks. And
Well,
James,
thanks to Ben coming on.
No, I really
Being part
appreciate
of
it.
the Jimish FM experiment.
This was, interesting for me. Never done it before. So hopefully I'll come back on some stage if people think that I should. All right.
Email us at mail@jimishfm.com. Let us know. We'll catch you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.